All right, Grasshoppers. It is the Laidlaw and Allen report is due in this time slot every Wednesday. Right now, it's just the Laidlaw report. Kevin Allen is with his family. He's one of family. He's a tremendous family man. So they're in Manhattan, actually going to plays and everything. So I haven't been to a play in a long time. So everybody has questions, please write in those questions, and we will answer them. The Rangers play tonight, obviously. The first game of the second round in Carolina. Shesterkin back to being the goaltender he was, at least at the end of that Pittsburgh series. So you would hope that that continues now in the first game of the Carolina series. Ron Gresher and I, that's right, the big-nosed Ron Gresher, my neighbor, we will be at American Whiskey, which is about a block away from MSG tonight for the game. We'll be getting there around 6 o'clock, and we'll attend the game there, so stop by and have some fun. Appropriately named American Whiskey. All right. Last night, the second round of the playoffs started. Tampa beat Florida 4-1. Good hockey game, two good hockey teams. Vasilevsky in net, I thought was excellent. I didn't see too much of the Colorado-St. Louis game. Colorado won that in overtime, obviously. That's right. Let's go Rangers. So, this is going to be a heck of a series. I really think that the Rangers obviously have a chance of winning this series, a very good chance of winning the series. They're going to have Vasilevsky playing the way Shesterkin playing the way he has played, and again during the season, especially the last two games of the Pittsburgh series. And the two guys that really came on, I thought, well, Panarin as well, but our boy Kreider and Zibanejad really stepped it up, not just scoring the goals, but the way they played too. And I know I've touched on this before, but I just love the scene, and I think Kreider could get away with this because he's become such good friends with Zibanejad. But the scene on the bench there in Game 6, I believe it was. Yeah, it was Game 6, where Zibanejad had scored 2 goals and had a breakaway and hit the post, and he had the iPad in front of him. And I guess he was sitting beside Kreider, and he was saying something really negative about himself, kind of like doubting himself. And Kreider grabbed the iPad and threw it away. Don't ever doubt yourself. I thought that was fantastic today. Fantastic we did that. Joined late. Yes. That's Susan. Hold on here. We'll get to some questions here. So Ron Gresher and I are going to be at, again, American Whiskey, which I think is about a block away. I think it's on 30th, right by the garden there. So we'll be there at 6 o'clock watching the game. If anybody stop by, I'd love to see you. This is a good question here. And I think this, I hope I'm wrong on this. I think that actually played a role in the way Shesterkin played. Again, that's my speculation. I don't know the young man at all, but I was surprised by that too. These Pittsburgh fans had the chant going, Igor sucks. And for some reason, he did not play the way he has played during the regular season, at least in those first 2 games in Pittsburgh. So you would think that the Carolina fans, who are very vocal as well, that's a raucous building, you would think that they would have something similar going on. I certainly would. If I was the team, I would make sure that they've got something going on like that today. So, yes, Ron, it is solo today. Kevin Allen, who usually joins me, this is the Laidlaw and Allen report. He is with his family in Manhattan, actually touring the city, going to Broadway shows. They do this every year. They hadn't done it in about 4 or 5 years, so he's down there doing that. But I heard somebody say too, I think it was Barclay Goodrow, I wonder if he's close to playing, which, I mean, listen, the Rangers are playing well anyways, but I think he's that kind of guy that you want to have back against like any playoff series, but against a team like Carolina. There's just a really grinded out team. They're a talented team. They can score goals, but their big strong suit, I believe, with Carolina is their forecheck and how aggressive they are. Just not giving you any room at all in your own end. So it's going to be really important that it isn't just the defenseman to get the puck out of the zone too. It's the forwards working together with the defenseman to get that puck out of the zone. Fox, who did not have a great series, I love him as a player. But did not have a great series against Pittsburgh. There's no getting away from it. He's a much better player than what he showed. So, listen, first, like a lot of expectations with him. He won the Norris last year. I'm sure he put a lot of pressure on himself to do a lot, and as he should. But I think he really has to just concentrate on playing his game, because he's going to play a big role in getting the puck out. All the defensemen will. In fact, all the players will. And Shesterkin can really move the puck well himself too. So, Ron Breadman is awesome. Yeah, he is. And you know what's amazing with him too? He is one of those guys that, again, I don't think he played poorly, but I don't think he played great in Game 7. Didn't generate a whole lot. But then we need somebody to score a goal in overtime. He doesn't. So that's a sign of a great player. So, how was that not? So Susan here, she is on top of things. Susan Brooks. How is that not goaltender interference at Tampa's second goal? I have no idea what it is. That is the tough thing. He did. So for what I saw, he hit the goaltender's just his head. If anything, unfortunately, if anything, the goaltender maybe should have put on more of an act that he got hit. Although it showed on the replay very clearly that the goaltender was in the blue paint, got hit in the head, it knocked his head to the side, and then the puck went in. And especially if the goaltender is in the crease and he gets hit like that, that should be no goal. But I'm with you. Those are tough calls. Even though they go to the replay, it still is a judgment call. Is the goaltender, because of the contact he's had with the player, is he unable to make the save because of that contact? Certainly looked like that was the case last night. Anybody didn't see it. The Florida goalie got hit in the head as puck, and then the puck went in right after that. So, all right. Yes, these Kakko and Lafreniere, that whole line heated as well. That kid line, I hope they keep them together. I mean, obviously those guys have to go continue to play the way they were playing for them to stay together. But they were fantastic. They brought life to the team. Quick in on the forecheck. I think they really just realized this. We don't have to make perfect plays out there. Let's just go get our feet moving, go 100 miles an hour, get in on the forecheck. And they did that too. I thought they really made a difference for the team too. It'd be nice to see them stay together. David, you're saying Rangers in 6. You listen. It's going to go more than it's not going to be done in 4 games. That's for sure. And I believe the Rangers have a real solid chance. The key players, Shesterkin, Fox has to get back to what he was doing. Kreider and Zibanejad have to continue to play the way they did in at least the last 2 games. If they all do that, and Panarin chips in, I mean, obviously everybody else has to do the job. It's not just on those players, but those players are the difference makers. And if they play the way they did in the last 2 games, Rangers will win this in 6 or 7. But Don, Susan's funny. I love this. Don Koharski is a TNT rules, and it's really. It's funny. I was listening to him last night too. Apparently, Susan was not a big Don Koharski fan. Was Don Koharski? He was a referee that Schoenfeld told him to go eat another donut. I believe that was the case. Remember way back? So they had New Jersey. He was in a New Jersey Buffalo series. I can't remember what it was. New Jersey was playing somebody, and Schoenfeld was coaching New Jersey. I think I have this correct. And Koharski made some bad call. It was right at the end of the period, and they were going off the ice together. And they bumped into each other in the hallway. Koharski blamed Schoenfeld. Schoenfeld yelled at him, go eat another donut. So I think that's when they wanted Schoenfeld. Isn't that when the referees kind of went on strike for a little bit because they didn't handle that properly? And then so they had to use like replacement referees or something like that. So let's have another donut. Yeah. So James Patrick, for people that don't know, we have our Thursday show at 2:00 that did have Ron Greshner, Larry Melnick, myself, and James Patrick. So James made a comment probably about 3 or 4 weeks ago. James is coaching the Winnipeg. I used the junior team in Winnipeg, same city, obviously, where the Winnipeg Jets play. And he made a comment that 2 players on the Jets were, I don't want to paraphrase. Like he said they were bad guys in the dressing room or something negative towards their character. He got it hit Twitter and became a big issue up there in Winnipeg. And James was told by his GM that he should not be on our show anymore. Since that, I've seen YouTube videos of people actually doing an analysis of, I think it was Wheeler and a bad guy. So to me, it wasn't some state secret or other that these 2 guys were rumored to be problems in the locker room. So James, we will no longer be on with this. Great guy. James got a great situation. And for people who know James Patrick, he's one of the classiest people, not just players, but one of the classiest people I've ever met in my life. So there's certainly no intent to hurt anybody. And again, I've talked to a lot of hockey people, and they're all like, yeah, we all knew that those guys were bad guys in the locker room, so it wasn't a big deal. Let me see here. James. Great here. Does Gallant, you got to say Gallant, still go with Braun or Nemeth goes back in? Well, typically, you stick with the winning formula. That's what a lot of guys, coaches do. I really haven't had that much of a problem with Nemeth. Maybe I haven't paid attention to his game as much. I mean, I just kind of like that fifth or sixth defenseman. You kind of know, okay, he's a fifth or sixth defenseman for a reason. In his case, he's a big physical guy and has to play physical. That's important. But I tell you, the mobility of the defenseman for the Rangers is going to be really important in this series because of the forecheck with Carolina. And they can't overplay the puck. I mean, it might be as simple. You may have to just flip it out into the neutral zone. I mean, the puck has to get out of the zone. You want to make correct passes, like tape-to-tape passes. But it's more important that puck has got to get out. You can't overplay it. You can't turn the puck over. That's going to be one of the keys. There will be turnovers for the Rangers in their own zone. You will not be able to get away from it with this Carolina team. It's obviously what happens after the turnovers. Do you button it down and make sure everybody picks up their man? Make sure the turnovers are in not in key spots like the slot. You don't want the turnovers there in front of the net. If anything, it's going to be turnovers, got to be along the boards. But again, you don't want to have turnovers. I'm not saying that you want them, but they will happen against Carolina. They will always happen. But again, especially against Carolina with their forecheck, it's going to be that way. So they've got to reduce that. So, oh yes, I saw this too. Are they? Canes aren't letting Ranger fans buy tickets to their home game in Carolina, so Ranger fans can't buy them. They can't buy them at all. I wasn't sure if we can't buy them all. That's, well, I mean, obviously that's their decision, I guess. I wonder if they're allowed to do that, but I guess they're allowed to do it. Well, I mean, listen, I was fortunate to go to the Friday game. The Rangers had some fans going for the Friday game to Pittsburgh, and there was a few Ranger fans, but it didn't change the Pittsburgh fan and building. It was raucous. It was really going hard. So I don't know if it makes a difference. It is interesting that they just flat out don't let them. So everybody knows my old college roommate, Don Waddell, is the general manager and president there of the Carolina Hurricanes. So I'll call him up and see if we can get that changed at all. I don't know if he'll listen to me or not. But let me see. Yes. Let me see what we got here. How's initial? Oh, yeah, I'm with you, Susan. That's a strange. I guess it's. I'm trying to think of how that works. So Carolina is not allowing Ranger fans to buy tickets. I guess how do they even know who's a Ranger fan? I guess where their location is, where they're buying the tickets from. So, but I can't believe they that much of a difference. But let me see here. Our good buddy Barry Shelley. Hope you will turn on some music and do your Ranger dance before the show's over. It was funny. Kevin Allen was talking. So anybody didn't see this? What was it? Game 2 or game 1 of the Pittsburgh series. Stefan Matteau, Glenn Anderson, and I had done this. I thought it was a pretty funny skit before they filmed it all, where we were trying out for the Blue Crew. The Blue Crew was the young people who go out on the ice with the shovels and throw the T-shirts and everything. So we were pretending we were trying out for the Blue Crew, and people seemed to get a kick out of it. And then at the game, everybody has been to Ranger games. Dancing Larry is kind of a fixture at Madison Square Garden. He's been around for decades. He gets at certain points during the game, he gets up and does this dance. And the Blue Crew now dances with him, at least 4 people. So I was supposedly with the Blue Crew dancing up there. And so dancing in front of 18,000 people. And I'm not a dancer at all. But it's funny, Kevin Allen even said to me, he says, how did it evolve into this that you wouldn't have danced before at all, and now you're up dancing in front of 18,000 people? Some of the other guys were like, I think like, God, there's something wrong with them. All right. Okay, let's see here. Oh, I see. So, Susan, so this is the question. How does Carolina, in this case, know who Ranger fans are? So I guess you when you order tickets, you have to put in your billing address, and if it's a New York or tri-state area address. I guess, listen, hey, if you're selling out the building and you don't need the tickets sold, then you can go ahead and do it. I guess in some ways, I give them a lot of credit that they've done. But yeah, and with the league, you start that process. I mean, if the league starts to let that happen, yeah. Susan used to be such, like her and I used to be such good friends, and now she picks on me. She's questioning whether that was dancing or not. That's painful. That hurts. So, okay. Kathy's asking, changes for the Rangers lineup tonight. I don't know what would change. Again, the like that fifth or sixth defense or sixth defenseman that Nemeth or I guess that's one change. We have plenty of Ranger fans here. Huh. Two-step. That's right, Deb. That's right. Two-step Tom. That's right. That is. I'm trying to think from the league standpoint whether that policy they would like to continue or not. Like where you're stopping fans from another team. I guess from a team standpoint. I mean, you wouldn't be doing, obviously, if your building's not sold out, you're not going to do it. So you're getting a little bit, and I will say this to my old roommate, maybe getting a little bit cocky down there in Carolina, thinking, well, we don't need you, Ranger fans. We got the building sold out. And they typically have not, that has not been a place that's been sold out all the time. Although in the past, when they've won, they won the Stanley Cup there before, when they've won, they've had a good hockey team. It's one of those cities they will sell out. But, geez, I just don't understand the vindictiveness here. Tom barely moved in the 11-9 game. What are you talking about? I was a machine out there. Nobody got by me. Okay, expecting a letdown from a fantastic comeback against the Penguins. Wow, that's a great question, Barry. To be honest with you, I did not expect the Pittsburgh series to go the way it did. I thought that Shesterkin particularly would come out and continue to play the way he didn't play well. And the fact that Zibanejad, particularly, and Kreider, to a lesser extent, did not. And I'd be careful because somebody saw in the stat the other day, as much as I thought Zibanejad did not play that great, he had 11 points in the series. Somebody said that number to me. I think that's correct. So, but again, it wasn't just his point totals; it was the way he was playing. Now, again, he picked it up in the last two games, and it was interesting. Kreider, the way he handled him there, like looked like Zibanejad had been doubting himself, and that's where Kreider stepped in and said, "There'll be no more of that." And maybe that's the issue. I thought is he afraid out there? Is he nervous? And maybe it's just that he doesn't have enough confidence in himself and sees what a great player he really is. Because I think Zibanejad is a fantastic player at both ends of the ice too. You know, Patrice Bergeron has always been talked as the best two-way forward in the last decade, and he deserves that. But I tell you, Zibanejad is not far behind. I don't think a lot of people outside of New York really understand how good defensively Zibanejad is, and can be winning faceoffs, killing penalties. Because again, killing penalties, him and Kreider out there together. The reason, obviously they can kill the penalty, but there's such a threat offensively too. It really changes. Like coaches sometimes, you got to be careful who you put on the ice in your power play. Because Zibanejad and Kreider, when they get an opportunity to kill penalties, can really take advantage of that. So it's important there too. Yes. So, yeah, I mean, obviously the first two games in Carolina, they've got to take care of that first. But when they get back to MSG, I mean, MSG's not, there's a lot of buildings now where they're really something, but it's just, it's the crowd, and it's also the way they present the game there at MSG, the lighting, the noise, the music, the things they do. So it's like you're there all the games at the Garden are fantastic. They put on a great show, but they're for a playoff game. And you would hope as each round goes by, it gets more and more like that too. It's a lot of fun. So they have us. First two games in Carolina tonight and Friday night. Sunday's 4:30 game, I think it is at the Garden. On Tuesday, actually, they've got me down before the game during the day, getting the people working there all fired up. So I'll be down there at noon with the Blue Crew. And we'll be getting people going, so it'll be fun. Tampa and Nashville do very well too. Oh, geez, I didn't know this. We're still talking. This is an interesting topic. Again, this is the Carolina not allowing Ranger fans to buy tickets. I didn't know that. Tampa and Nashville do it every time Rangers come in. I did not realize that. Well, and you would think, well, I guess Tampa does pretty well at the gate as well. Rangers, whether the parent in the store for the rabid fans, the experience should propel them forward. You know, that's a good point. I guess, yes, I hear what you're saying. They weathered the storm. I would rather the Rangers take, there's an old saying that I think people will have heard me say before, was a fate whispered to the warrior, you cannot withstand the storm. The warrior whispered back, I am the storm. I know the fans, they can get, it's not as much that they stop you from playing well. It's that they get the home team so fired up. Like in game 6 when we were there, the Penguins were fantastic, and the fans are really into it in the first period. But I still think the Rangers have a good enough team that shouldn't bother them. They should be able to create their own storm. that's why I'd rather take that approach than say we're going to weather the storm. That's me. I don't know how Gerard Gallant speaks to his team regarding that. They obviously have to address it. They know that they go into other teams' buildings, especially the first period of the first game of every round, that the crowd is going to be fired up, especially those games. But let me see here. Oh, it's at 3:30. I cannot slip up at all with Susan. If I make any mistakes, it's just relentless. Susan, just so you know, Susan and I are good friends too, so we see each other games all the time. So, Paul Bissonnette, let me see this here. Paul Bissonnette went crazy on his helmet gate. Players should know the rules. How is he allowed on TNT? Speak your mind, Susan. Susan, okay, she doesn't like Don Koharski. She doesn't like Paul Bissonnette. I'm not. You know what? I don't know. When I hear Bissonnette or guys like that, everybody's got their own style. So, yeah, to be honest, I don't pay attention to them that much. Those guys that do that show, but okay, let me see here. Unlike last series, they need to play 60 minutes. Well, this is a good point here too. Unlike last series, the Rangers will need to play 60 minutes versus the Canes. That is accurate. But I will tell you that in most games, you will not play a perfect 60 minutes. There's always ebbs and flows in the games from both sides. You get announcers talking about it, coach will talk about it, there'll be a surge, right? So yeah, I would assume that Carolina will come out very strong in the opening period here tonight. And again, I hope that the Rangers just don't sit back and try to weather the storm. I hope that they go after them the other way. Now, again, hoping, and I anticipate that this will be the case, that Shesterkin will be back to playing his game. He is one of those rare athletes, and I know we've had great goaltending here at the Rangers for many years with Henrik Lundqvist, Richter, everybody else. But when he's on his game, it isn't just him stopping the puck. It's him moving the puck. Like the pass he made in Game 6 in Pittsburgh up to Zibanejad that Kreider ultimately scored on was just incredible. And what I really liked about it was that, again, Shesterkin had not played all that well up to that point. He started playing better, but still had the confidence to rifle that puck up the middle. So again, hoping that he is back playing that kind of game. Then the Rangers, listen, you don't want to give up great scoring opportunities, but it's going to happen. We need to know going into the series that Carolina's forecheck that's their strong suit, maybe the best forechecking team in the league. They're going to create opportunities. Shesterkin is going to have to weather the storm. And again, the Rangers can't just allow that to happen, but you know it's going to happen. They've got to play their game. If they're going to give up chances, they're going to have to go create some offense as well. So, and hopefully that Shesterkin then plays his game. So interesting. There's actually half of the Carolina defense are ex-Rangers. So Shea, D'Angelo, and Smith. But in total, I guess there's 6 former Rangers too. So Jesper Foss is a forward. Stepan is there. Somebody else, I can't remember who it is. I'm sure Susan will probably have it for me. But yeah. So George brings up a good point. The Rangers are going to have to play their game. Yes. They know Carolina well. Up until 2 years ago, when they had the playoffs in the bubble, was it 2 years ago when they just got destroyed by Carolina? They had really owned Carolina. Well, that's right. Ranta is the other guy, the goaltender, who had played quite a few of the games and played pretty well for Carolina too. But you know, a guy who I don't want him to play well against us, but Brady Shea, I liked him. Remember, he came in as a Ranger, really had a great start. Then kind of had a couple of years there where he tailed off. I really liked his game when he started too, and I almost felt like he was trying to do too much for a while there. But he's playing. I've seen Carolina play a few times now, and he's played a lot better too. And again, we don't want to see play well against us, but I'm really happy for him. We did a few events together, got to know him a little bit, and a really class gentleman. In fact, if anything, be a little less classy on the ice and played a little bit nastier, but that just wasn't his game. So he would do well. So a couple of things. We can keep writing in questions here. We'll bounce around a little bit here. Just around the league, we saw Pete DeBoer get fired there in Vegas. I guess they had to fire somebody. I mean, to me, the decisions that we've talked about this before on the show, where the decisions they made to me were mind-boggling. And George McPhee's the president there, is a friend of ours, former teammate. and not trying to pick on George. I just thought when he was running the team, when he was the general manager, they were that team that everybody loved. They're scrappy, hardworking. Jared Gallant was there as the coach. So, then some of the decisions they made, the cap decisions, the fact that Stone had to sit out. Well, I mean, that was a rough situation with his injury. Ultimately, they took him out of the lineup to recover from that injury, and then they could use that cap space to get our boy Eichel in there. Yes, that is true. I had a shirt on, and actually, I was funny. Everybody gives me a hard time wearing a black shirt all the time. And I looked at this. I was actually going to change it to put a black t-shirt. I said, no, we're going crazy today. We're going wild. So here's a good question. Tony D'Angelo. Now, he's a little bit of a lightning rod, and he's down in Carolina now, so it's less, it's a smaller town, not as much media. Everybody knows here in New York what happened with him. Great player, fantastic player. He scored 5 goals in one game. I think that's correct. But he was busy on social media talking about politics and alienating people, challenging fans for a fight outside the Garden, all this crazy stuff. And he ultimately got into a confrontation with Georgiev, I believe it was, made some comment to him like, just we should stop the puck or whatever. So he ultimately got shipped out of town. And now he goes now to Carolina. And again, he's playing fantastic. Incredible defenseman. So his talent level is right off the charts. He does get emotional out there. Now, you would think that a lot of these Rangers had played with him and they know him. Will they say things to him? And I got to tell you, when you play in the playoffs, you're playing to win, right? So you do anything to win. I remember we were taught young players coming up with the Rangers, guys like Carol Vadnais, Tom says, you break that guy's arm to win. You're here to win the Stanley Cup. It doesn't matter if you're your friend or not. And that's the attitude we took. And I still think the Rangers have to take that attitude as well. I mean, I'm not advocating people getting hurt. I want to be careful there. But if you can get under D'Angelo's skin and get him to take bad penalties and get off his game, you got to do it. I remember we played a series. I was in Los Angeles. Jimmy Carson had been with us with the Kings. We had the big trade for when Wayne Gretzky came over. Jimmy was one of the players that went over to the Edmonton Oilers. We played a playoff series one time. We were down in the series, and we wanted to win. And I remember Jimmy was on the boards, and I went in to hit him and gave him a forearm shiver to the jaw and knocked him out. And I mean, you feel bad about it and you apologize to him later, but you're there to win. And he was an important player for the team. So I had to do it. You've seen a better pass goal time. Susan Point here talked about Shesterkin. I have not. I mean, Marty Brodeur was good too, but I would think Shesterkin is as good as Marty Brodeur. I mean, they have that trapezoid behind the net there. They made that rule for Marty Brodeur because he was coming out of the net. He's almost making it impossible to forecheck. His teams would dump it in. He would just get it and pass it right out. So he's good. Okay, so as we know, Barry Trotz got fired. So the story I hear is that I believe this is accurate, is that Barry Trotz, they had the exit interviews. So what happens is the players go in and meet with Lou Lamoriello, in this case, the general manager. And there's more than one player that was very negative towards Barry Trotz, that they weren't happy with the way he was coaching, and they really liked Lane Lambert. Now, Lou Lamoriello isn't a guy that just does what the players want, but the guys he has, his core guys, they're part of the family there with Lou. And, so if he trusts in them, I'm sure there's certain guys that he'd look to for like, okay, what's going on in the locker room? And so he ultimately fired. I should back up a little bit. Barry Trotz also wanted a new contract. He had 1 year left in his deal. Lane Lambert had become this hot up and coming young coach that everybody likes so much. Apparently, Steve Yzerman was very interested in signing him to be the coach with the Red Wings. And Lou did not want to lose Lane Lambert, and he was obviously people were not happy with Barry Trotz. I've heard nothing but great things about Trotz. I'm not as high on him as his coaching. I mean, he's many years was in Nashville there and really didn't win too much, but real gentleman, seems to know the game well. He'll fit in someplace else. Rumors that he's in talking to Winnipeg already. He is from Manitoba. I don't know if that always matters. I mean, I've said that myself that maybe he'll go back to Manitoba. He's from there, but he's got that best fit for him and for the team as well. So, oh yeah. So I talked about Jimmy Carson. It was almost exactly the same play too. So Bob Nystrom, we played against each other all the time, especially when Herb Brooks was coaching the Rangers. he would always want me out there against Nystrom. We'd be banging all the time. Now he was, I could fight, but Bob Nystrom was much more of a fighter. So we didn't ever fight, but we hit all the time. And late in the game, we were winning the game, and I had the puck similar to where Jimmy Carson had it too. And Nystrom came in, pretty much did the same thing to me that I did to Carson. And I remembered it differently. I actually saw the video of it where I went down. I didn't think I went down on the ice. I thought I passed out in the locker room, but I did go down. And Jim Gordon. Yeah, he says, when I got hit, he goes, Laidlaw's down, and he's hurt. That's a hard man to hurt. I was fired up when he said that, but at the time I was too fired up. So I got hit, went down, got up, finished the game, then went in the locker room and passed out in the locker room and spent the night in the hospital. So, but I'll tell you what though, Bob Nystrom, as tough as a player as he was, he called me the next day. And it wasn't like he was afraid of me or anybody else. He was not afraid of anybody. He called me the next day to apologize for what he did. It was a day in between games. And then the next game ended up being the last game. So we had the handshake line after, and he pulled me aside and apologized again for it. So I've seen him at other events, totally classy guy. I missed him. I hope I was going to see him at the alumni game that we had against the Islanders about 3 or 4 weeks ago there. I didn't see him. I heard he was there, but totally a classy guy. I obviously like what he did, but he did not have to apologize. It just showed what character he was. So, all right, what do we got here? Brian Duffy. What agent type question? What factors in a franchise type player moving on for the benefit of his goals? Is it time to move Crosby with his mark? So the Gretzky decision that's a great question. So a lot of talk now in Pittsburgh about they're gonna reshuffle the deck there, get rid of some of the star guys, make up room for the cap to sign other players. Gretzky was traded more for money. Edmonton, the owner there, Pocklington, needed money. Part of the deal was cash going back to Pocklington to help him out. He was struggling financially, and so there was no. I mean, otherwise they would not have traded Gretzky. I don't believe at any time. Maybe later on in his career, but so that then leads to Crosby. Is Crosby one of the guys that they can move in Pittsburgh? I doubt it. To me, he's the guy that does not move. He's the franchise player. I think you kind of devalue your franchise if you trade a Crosby. If you trade a Malkin or a Letang and get something good back in return and say, okay, we're reshuffling here. We're not necessarily tearing the team down and starting over again. Because Crosby, like he's come out recently, said he's been quoted saying he wants to play another 3 years. So it's really hard to reshuffle, to say, okay, we're going to get rid of all the star players except for Crosby and then regroup and get all young kids in, because that's just a waste of Crosby then. So they've still got to maintain that, a team that's be a contender. Listen, the Rangers, they could have got beat by Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh still, I really like them as a team. I know they're a rival now, the Rangers, but so I don't see Crosby going anywhere. I think he stays there the rest of his career. He'll play out the 3 years there. I just, again, he is the cornerstone of the franchise there. He can still play. He's the leader. I think young kids coming in there realize, okay, look at the work ethic that he puts into it, dedication, always trying to improve himself, and still being able to play the way he does on the ice. Did the Rangers trade you for money? Yeah. Yeah, they had to pay the Kings to take me. That's what it was. There was no money involved in that one. That's funny. No, you're very funny, Barry Shelley. Very funny. Better coaching style, Gallant or Brind'Amour? Oh, that's a fantastic question, Joseph. Let's put that up there. Well, I mean, they're my two favorite coaches. I mean, I've made no bones about that, for a couple of years now. When Gallant got fired there in Vegas, I mean, there are some people, he is not a really big on the X's and O's, not because he doesn't know the X's and O's, but he wants the players to just go play. There's a basic system that he wants them to play. There's defensive responsibilities. And I think he says things publicly that give people the belief that he just doesn't get into the strategies or structure at all. Just let the players go play. I don't think that's the case. I think he says things publicly because he wants it to seem, and there's nothing wrong with this, that it is a player's game. When players don't play well and they lose, because the players didn't play well. If they play well and they win, it's because the players played better. I mean, he didn't change the way he coached Zibanejad, Shesterkin, and Kreider that last round from game to game. He coached them the same way. They just had off games. And then when they played better, the team was better. That had nothing to do with coaching. I think that coaches get way too much blame when the team loses, and they get way too much credit when the team wins. So I like the way he coaches, but I think Brendan Moore's the same way. He may want something different from his team. Like Brendan Moore, his team plays more like he played. He was a hard-nosed, I mean, it's total credit to him. He wasn't the most talented guy. He just worked so hard, and he was a forechecking forward who could also score. No question about it. But his team plays the way that he played. Gallant's team, he gets them to play more run and gun. He's got the guys to do it, more of a run and gun game. Go get the offense going. He lets guys make decisions about power plays and stuff. You hear him talk about it all the time. He says, let the guys work on that. As long as they're doing it. And he's a smart enough coach that if he doesn't have the players to do it, then he will step in and get it done. So I like the way both those guys coach. I don't know if there's a better or worse. I like them both. I think it's about, they make it about the players. They don't make it about them. So often some of these coaches, and again, like the Mike Babcocks and the Ken Hitchcocks and the Mike Keenan's of the world, they're more salesmen. They want to make it seem like they're the experts out there that are making the team win, that they've got the secret potion to coaching. There is no secret potion. I mean, listen, you have to build a culture, and you have to get the players to play their best as often as possible and get people out there at the right times, all that. But as far as the X's and O's and coming up with strategies and all this new stuff, hockey has still remained hockey. And if you're going to win in the playoffs, you have to have goaltending. You still have to have size and speed. You got to stay away from as many injuries as possible. So you get certain guys that have to step up and score goals that maybe didn't score goals. That's the same. You look at every team that's won along the way, whether it's been Tampa in the last few years, going back to St. Louis or Washington, it's all the same game. It's like guys learning to win. It's getting to understand that you don't have to make the big plays all the time. It's making all those small little plays consistently. And it's sacrifice too. It's not taking bad penalties, not thinking about yourself, but you got to think about the team. That's the one thing that, before we were talking about D'Angelo, you watch him play. I watched him play in the last series against Boston. He was thinking about himself a little bit too much too. So if I'm the Rangers, I'm trying to get under his skin and get him, first of all, see, it does a few things. It gets him off his game, hopefully taking bad penalties. And the rest of the players are saying on his team, listen, I'm sacrificing here. And you're going out there thinking about yourself, taking all these bad penalties. So I think it's important for really try to get him going. Maybe more of a Reeves yapping on him on the bench or when he's on the ice with him. Those kind of guys, listen, Zibanejad, Kreider, Panarin, stay away from that. We want you to play hockey. But those other guys like the Reeves, get on, he should constantly be yapping at D'Angelo. I think so. Susan's question here. The Susan Brooks show. With Calgary's toughness, will Calgary's toughness be able to slow down McDavid? I don't think the toughness. I hear what you're saying, and I should be careful. I'm sure Susan's probably thinking it's more like they're mentally tough. It's a hard team to play against, and if that's yes, I do agree that's going to have to do that. Like constantly bumping and getting in the way of McDavid and Draisaitl. You just can't let them get wound up, especially McDavid. It's got to be before he gets the puck. Even you're getting in his way. You don't want to take penalties against him, obviously, but just get in front of him so he can't get wound up. Like you don't ever let him get going, and he will at some point. I mean, he's one of those players that he's going to be hard to stop, and he'll get his points, but you just got to limit him as much as possible. So, let me see here. Jocko, the old trainer for the New York Rangers. Jocko, how you doing, bud? I had Gallant as a player, and you can tell that he was going to get coaching. Yeah, that's a good point, Jocko. There are certain guys that played, and very often it is guys like Brendan Moore in Carolina, Gallant here, the Chief in St. Louis. Why do I keep forgetting his name? But guys that were grittier guys that weren't as talented, but had to grind it out and learn to play the game to survive in the NHL. Like not based on their talent, but based on their ability to do the things that they're supposed to do out on the ice consistently so they can stay in the National Hockey League. So, yeah, I agree with you. Let me see here. Pete, I can't see this. See that picture there, Pete? That's actually a life-size photo of Pete right there, too. Duff the fuck. Very funny, Pete. Very funny, Mr. Cologne. All right, this was a lot of fun, guys. We've gone to 40 minutes here, or pretty close to it, so we're going to wrap it up here. But again, Kevin will probably be back on next Monday. So again, Ron Greshner and I will be at American Whiskey. We'll be there around 6 o'clock tonight. I think it's about, I believe it's on 30th. Okay, one more I've got to get up there. Sorry, Hiram's coach. The only guy that doesn't watch, the only guy that coaching the NHL doesn't watch the NHL. He watches. All right, guys. Thanks very much again. American whiskey tonight. Ron Gresham and I'll be there. You can actually go measure. We'll have a measuring tape there, so you can measure Ron Gresham's nose to see how big it really is. I know a lot of people sometimes think that it can't be that big, really. Like you see him on TV or something. There's no way his nose can really be that big. So we'll have proof there. Maybe we'll have like a viewing party just for his nose before the Ranger game viewing party. We'll see everybody next week. And again, hope to see some people tonight in American whiskey. Have a great day.